How's it going, everybody? I'm making this video today to help 4Runner owners who have 01 and 02 4Runners. We've been experiencing a surging. It idles okay, but it's when it's under load it surges, and we've kind of narrowed it down to the throttle position sensor, which if you do some quick Googling and part searching, the 02 model, I think 01 as well, has the VCS traction control or whatever it's called. So it is a drive-by-wire motor. So it does have a cable, but there's actually a motor in here. I think this is just like a limp motor, possibly part of the cruise control. I don't know. But the throttle position sensor is on the back, and it is a 4-wire, not a 3-wire like 96 to 2000. Those are like 20 bucks, and you can buy them anywhere. But if you do some Googling, everyone's going to tell you on the forums and Facebook that you can't buy it. Just the sensor, and you have to buy the whole throttle body, which is like 1,500 bucks, or you got to go to a junkyard and replace this whole thing from here to there, like the motor, the idle air control, all this, you know, the whole assembly, which is, you know, they're usually like $250 to $300 used, or $1,500 new. I did a lot of Googling because I was like, I'm not paying that. This car is really good, and it's been good to us. And it's worth 1,500 bucks worth of parts, but I'm not the type of person to just go throw parts at stuff. So I spent about 4 hours online, and I found some other people that had a great solution. So once you get that, in about 3 days, you're going to get this box, okay, with this part number. And I'll put a link to it in the description. The 35030 is the important part. 35020 is a 3-pin. This is a 4-pin. If you notice, it says Toyota and has that 35030 part number, which is the exact replacement for the one on the back of the throttle body. So this should bolt right in and fix the problem. So for this video, I'm going to remove the air box assembly just to have room, because we need to remove this hose because it is on the back. Should be a super simple job because it only has 2 screws and 1 plug, but all this stuff is old. I mean, these cars are like pushing 20 years old now, so stuff is brittle. When I was diagnosing this, I ripped this boot, and I have a piece of Gorilla Tape on it just so my wife could get to work for another day. So it's a good idea to plan your repair on a weekend or have the parts available. I probably should have got this boot too. Picked this one up on eBay for like 8 bucks. So if you're gonna tear into that, I would recommend just order these parts when you order your sensor, and you can get these anywhere. You don't have to go to Parts Geek for that. But I would order both these boots and have clamps and everything. Also, while it's out, I did a PCV valve. That was like 8 bucks, and it comes with a new grommet and a hose, because that also can lead to some air metering, air fuel issues because of the crankcase pressure. So there's a few little things to keep in mind when you're starting this job. So here's the sensor. It's on the back, the firewall side of the throttle body. If you notice, you're not supposed to mess with these. That's what I've been told. They're supposed to be 1 unit. That's how the dealership wanted to sell it. So they have some yellow paint on it to show if any of these have been tampered with. There's an adjustment screw here. Then there's a black plastic piece that the sensor mounts into. I'm slightly hesitant to remove this because it's not like a normal sensor, like a crank or cam position sensor with just a little magnet on it. This has an actual spring-loaded moving part in it, and I'm pretty sure that determines the throttle position. So I don't know, you guys probably watching this, you might already know, when I remove this, if that's going to snap and go to a different position, and then it's going to be all wonky when I put it back together. I don't know. Right now it runs and drives okay, so I don't want it to be worse than I'm starting with. So I scribed a line on the top of that and on the side, because I can't reach the bottom screw to see it, so that if I have to put the old one back in, I can hopefully put this one back and at least get it to where it's running as good as it is now. I'm not doing that as I'm like to plan to fail, but just I don't want this vehicle to be down running any worse than it is if this fix doesn't work, because nowhere online did I find a video of someone doing what I'm doing. I know it's been done, but nobody posted it and said, hey, it worked great, running good now. They just said, you know, here's a sensor, use this one. So I have no idea. And this is my wife's car. We need it for her to get to work. So I'm trying to take some precautions so that it at least runs as good as it does now. So I'm gonna put the camera down here in a minute and remove these screws. I'm using this little Craftsman driver ratchet because there's not enough room for a screwdriver. I've heard a lot of people stripping out, not necessarily these screws, but on the 96 to 2000 models, they're right here out in the open and people are having trouble. I think that might be because they go into this cast aluminum housing. This goes into plastic, so I really don't think I'm gonna have trouble. But whenever you do this, keep as much force inward, use a fresh bit, and if you see it starting to strip, stop, because that means you might want to put a pair of vice grips on it and try to break it loose from the outside. We don't want it to break off, and we don't want it to round out, especially this lower one. If that thing rounds out, I'm going to have to pull the whole throttle body, set it on the bench, and basically start over. The sensor is out. Had absolutely zero trouble, let me see if I can get you some more light, with removing these screws. This tool right here was absolutely perfect. A lot more leverage than a screwdriver, a stubby one especially, and I was able to push on this end to keep good pressure. But they did not come out hard at all. Putting the sensors side by side, they look identical. The part numbers are the same. So this says 35030. However, it does say 1K26 on the original one and 0H21 on the one I just bought. I'm hoping that's a batch number. I don't know. I'm hoping it's not something with the ohms or resistance or whatever this reads. If that's the case, this one will not work. So I'm going to mount it in there and try to set it as close to possible in the orientation that this one was and start it up. That's really all we can do, and hope that it both runs and idles correctly and that my surging problem is gone. If you take notice of these little pads in here, you can see wear marks on them. There's metal tangs on the back of the throttle body that engage on these flats. So that's going to help me install this. Make sure you have it in the right orientation and that the tabs aren't on the back side. There's also plastic wear marks on the metal tabs, so you can kind of see where these two have been rubbing against each other, bumping and grinding for the last 20 years. So just take note of those types of things when you're taking your sensor off. So I'll show you what it looks like on this side. It's just two metal tangs, and like I said, you can see where they're rubbing. So I'm gonna engage them, put it in there, try to line this up as close as I can. Those are slotted holes, so there's wiggle room. And then tighten them back up and start it up and see what happens. So we're gonna get that sensor put in and fire it up and see what happens. Everything is back together. So I got the hose in. My $8 eBay boot fit perfect. I'll put a link for this in the description too if you need one. I don't have this one. Probably shouldn't mess with this at all. Like I even did this, or if you clean your throttle body, which is a good time to do it right now, and you use your finger and turn that butterfly. When you start this back up, it's gonna idle and run wacky. It has to relearn. I don't know if it's the mapping or the fueling or what, but you're disturbing it. Anytime you hit, the first time I took a throttle body off one of these and started back up, I thought I broke it because it was like idling rough. It was stalling. You'd rev it up and it would be like all over the place. But just be patient. Let it idle for a long time. Take it on a drive. Cycle it a few times, starting on and off. It will smooth out. So if this runs like crap the first time I start it up, I'm not going to panic. Could be the sensor. It could just be because I disturbed stuff on this end. So we're going to give it some time to idle, get warm, cycle it a few times, and take it for a drive. So let's give it a shot. Full disclosure, I'm slightly nervous. I kind of have a lot riding on this because I don't want to have to buy a new throttle body. So let's give it a try. Back. Good news and bad news. Good news is it runs fine as compared to what it was running. Like, it feels like it has a little bit more power and better throttle response, but we still have the surge, so that's the bad news. So the good news is if you need a throttle position sensor, this video will help you, and that part number is correct. Bad news is my problem is not the throttle position sensor, because it still has that surge. So here's what it's doing. It doesn't do it as much when it's not under load. That couple hundred RPM surge. Now it idles pretty smooth, but I still have a surge around 2,000 from about, I'd say 1,500 to 3,000, which is a very usable RPM range in this vehicle. I have a surge. So I don't know if it's mass airflow or something else in the throttle body, or it could be the pedal position sensor. So that'll probably be our next installment. So hope this video helps you if you need a throttle position sensor. I guess I didn't, or I still might need a whole throttle body. I don't know, but I'm just showing you that part number and the procedure that does replace that part successfully. So I'll try to do a part 2 video. Thanks for watching. Sorry it wasn't incredibly helpful, but let me know if you have any questions or comments, or any idea of what my surging problem is. Put them down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.